What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Rock Video Rental. We are continuing with Awesomely Bad Month. I am Brandon, and with me, as always, is Caleb. Caleb, you've been watching anything interesting?
Yeah, maybe it'll come to me. But the first thing I wanted to mention was I did not realize that the Goldbergs was still like releasing episodes.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Like it was kind of funny because we finished it like, I don't know, a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so weird how they ended. I was just like, so they just cut the budget and they just stopped releasing episodes. I totally didn't look when it was released. So we were on Hulu tonight and we saw that there was a new episode. I was like, oh, no way.
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it too tonight.
Nice. Yeah, so it wasn't too bad. So it's fun having that back. Start watching Fresh Off the Boat.
Yeah, I like that one. That was a good show.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
That one is done. They aren't releasing any more episodes of that.
Okay. All right, good to know. I was rewatching Breaking Bad to try to watch as much as I could before our Netflix dropped out. That just ended the Netflix subscription and I only was able to watch one season. I got through season 2, so that wasn't too bad. If I think of the other one, I swore there was a movie that I watched, but no, I can't think of it. So I'll let you go. What have you been watching lately?
Oh, man. Been watching Bar Rescue still.
Okay.
That's been the bulk of it. I mean, I watched a couple other things too. I watched the first episode of the old Weird Science TV show. They made a TV show in the 90s based off the 80s John Hughes movie. It was kind of interesting. It wasn't bad. So I'll probably continue watching some of that. Man, and the other thing I watched, I was still watching more Godzilla stuff. I watched Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. But that's pretty much it on that end.
Dude, that's what I forgot. I watched Godzilla vs. Kong.
Oh, yeah, you did, didn't you?
Yeah, because we talked about last week. That's why I was thrown off, because we talked about it last week because you watched it. And then I watched it, like, I think the night after we recorded, or maybe the next night. So that's why I forgot that I hadn't talked about it yet, because you already talked about it. So, yeah, that was pretty great. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
So, well, before we jump into it, there was something I wanted to mention. So, something I wanted to share if, well, actually, I haven't shared. I'm mentioning it before we've shared it from the show, but I'm doing kind of like a personal project, doing a little mental health awareness before Mental Health Awareness Month. Mental Health Awareness Month is May, so I'm doing a little fundraiser awareness campaign, and so you will see some of that shared on our Facebook and Twitter. I just kind of wanted to mention on the show. You could check it out. It's got some information on there, and then also just kind of a part of the awareness that we're doing is doing T-shirts as kind of like conversation pieces. So that store is up until April 23rd if anyone is interested. And if you are, look on Facebook or Twitter and you'll find a link. So.
Rock. Yeah, I believe we both shared it.
Yeah, so it's on there, and then I'm going to go on tonight or tomorrow and share it directly from the episode. So, or from the podcast. So.
Yeah, good idea. So, anything else?
Nope. I think that's all the stuff we wanted to get out of the way at the beginning.
All right. So we can dive right into it. Baywatch, Season 6, Episode 15, titled Bash at the Beach. It was from 1996, And here's the plot. It's pretty long. Um,
Really?
yeah,
For
which
how
is
short
kind
the
of
episode
ridiculous.
felt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so CJ rescues pro wrestler Hulk Hogan, who tells her, Cody, and the rest of the Baywatch team that he is in town with fellow wrestler Randy Savage and trying to prevent the Venice Boys Youth Center that is faced with being closed from his arch rival Ric Flair and his gang of Kevin Sullivan and Big Van Vader. Flair then challenges Hogan and Savage into a grudge match for control of the youth center. Meanwhile, Stephanie is dating Mitch's old friend Tom, a dermatologist who diagnoses her with melanoma, which turns Stephanie into a nervous wreck.
Meanwhile,
That is like the longest plot that I think I have ever read on the
I
show.
yeah, I feel like that you don't need to watch the episode anymore except for to find out what happens with the beach bash.
Right? I feel like the whole um, melanoma thing was shoehorned into this episode.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get to that because tonally, like this episode is all over the place.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I wanted to point this out before I forgot. So season 6, episode 15, right?
hmm
It took them 6 seasons to address skin cancer on Baywatch. I mean, I feel
Right.
like that would have been an important thing for them. Now, maybe they addressed it before and talked about the importance of sunscreen, but I was just like, shouldn't you guys have been addressing this like all along?
Right. Yeah, especially since like the whole thing takes place on the beach and they're like people in swimsuits all over the place and
Yeah.
everybody's super tanned.
I feel like there's a backstory for them like finally getting around to it. It's like, oh, I guess we got to talk about this or
It's like I wonder if there's ever an episode where someone gets heat stroke.
oh, I'm sure there's got to be somewhere along there. There's got to be.
But I
I
guess
mean,
I
if
Mhm.
if if this one to kind of kickstart off kind of the beginning of it, if this one can be about them rescuing rescuing somebody who gets bashed in the head with a skidoo, I think heat stroke comes up somewhere.
I got kind of a funny story about that too when we get into it. Um, but I guess before we get too far, I can introduce the cast. Uh, I'm pretty sure most people have seen at least one episode, if not part of an episode of Baywatch. I mean, it was pretty massive in the 90s, in syndication especially. It was one of those shows that did great ratings. Uh, Critics hated it, and it's considered one of the worst TV shows of all time, but it lasted forever.
hmm
I mean, heck, like this episode we're doing is season 6, episode 15.
Yeah,
And I think this show ran for like another 5 years after this.
I
And
believe
then
it.
there's multiple spin-offs and other iterations of it. But the cast is Pamela Anderson as CJ Parker, David Hasselhoff as Mitch Buchanan. We got Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Ric Flair, and Vader all playing themselves. Also, Kevin Sullivan is in there. He's another wrestler. And then, I guess Yasmin Bleeth. Yeah, I could go on forever. This show is known for like tons of castmates,
hmm
and you never really know who they are. It's just like, oh, here's good-looking girl number 5. But yeah, so this starts off with Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man racing jet skis. The Hulkster gets sidetracked by these two girls going by. He kind of loses his focus and then flies off his jet ski, which then comes back and hits him in the face and knocks him out.
hmm
Um, this is kind of art imitating reality because he had the same thing happen to him in like 1993, I think.
Oh, really?
It was the last WrestleMania that he was in. Kind of there's a lot of like stories. and speculation of what happened to Hulk Hogan because he showed up for the show with a black eye, and there was nothing in the storyline saying what happened. He claims it was a jet ski accident where it hit him in the eye.
Okay.
Others say that like he got in a fight with a Macho Man before this, like a real life like altercation because they were kind of like frenemies, where they were best friends and then they hated each other and then they were best friends, kind of back and forth.
Nice.
Uh, so there's rumor that you get a black eye from Macho Man, but it's kind of funny that they this is the beginning of the episode. Um, of course, the lifeguards see it. Pam Anderson goes out and gets him. They bring him back. They give him CPR, and then he like sits up, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's Hulk Hogan," which always cracks me up because you didn't know it was Hulk Hogan before he sat up.
Yeah, right.
He's got to be one of the most recognizable guys in the world.
I know.
Like who else? You got like this guy who's 6'6", like 300 pounds, super tan, has his bright blonde mustache, and he's wearing a bandana. Super jacked up guy. I mean, like, if it's not Hulk Hogan, then who the heck is it?
Well, I loved it too because I caught on to what they were doing before they kind of addressed it, I guess you might say, but they had like 5 or 6 female lifeguards
Yeah,
drag him out of the water, and then they're all like crowding him when he regains consciousness. It's
yeah,
like, oh, that was strategic.
yeah, and they're all like kind of swooning over him
Yeah.
and giving him like um the quote unquote bedroom eyes. And, Hulkster drops a great line with, "Did I was like, I did get to heaven." In like this whole episode. So another thing that Hulk Hogan is kind of notorious for is having kind of a large ego,
No.
especially when he was in WCW, which at the time this was WCW. Um, and he had like creative control of his characters, so he was able to like change storylines and stuff in the shows. And it
Okay.
was obvious at some points, like if he had to lose, there was always something screwy happening, so it looked like he got screwed over.
Of
Uh,
course.
and it's just just to pump up his ego. But like this whole episode is kind of like that too, because every time someone sees him, they're like, "Oh my God, it's Hulk Hogan!" Uh, so like shortly after that, Hulkster almost dies, and then Macho Man flies up and like gives him a hard time for like taking off in the race and getting distracted. Like, hey, dude, like your buddy almost died.
Yeah.
Uh, and one thing I love about Macho Man in this is that he's wearing swim trunks that say Macho Man on them. Just living that gimmick 24/7, brother.
Yeah.
Uh, he does have a lot more lines in this than he did in Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yes, for sure.
Whether that's a good thing or not. Um,
I think it helped.
yeah, just a little bit. Kind of at the same time, we got the other stories starting to develop where dude, for David Hasselhoff being like the main character on the show, he's not really in this episode all that much.
No.
Um, and I watched a fair amount of Baywatch in my life, and I've watched some of the spin-offs on it. Baywatch Hawaii was one of them, and Baywatch Nights, which is interesting, which we might have to get one of those sometime. Check it out. But yeah, I mean, Hasselhoff is always such a huge deal on this show. And, you mentioned how it was like 4 or 5 female lifeguards that pulled Hogan out of the water. Wouldn't it have been hilarious if it was David Hasselhoff that pulled him out and had to give him CPR?
I know. I thought about that.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been great. Uh, but, we get Mitch, aka Hasselhoff, talking to Stephanie, who, as a kid, I was just referred to as the flat chested lifeguard because she was the only one.
Oh only realistic one.
Yeah, the only one that didn't have big silicone boobs, but and they're apparently used to date at one point, but I don't remember that watching the show as a kid. But
It
you know,
sounded
I
like
guess.
they made it sound like it was maybe before the show took place.
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like they were just kind of they dated in the past and just I don't know didn't have chemistry or whatever, so they just decided to be friends, kind of deal. Um, but she is going out with Mitch's friend Tom, who is a dermatologist and lifeguard.
Tom the dermatologist.
Dermatologist slash lifeguard. Um, and it's a really weird scene. Like they're having like a romantic scene on the beach at night, and um,
Awkward.
kind of just like embracing each other. And he's like, how long is this mole you have had red around the outside?" And she's like, "Oh, forever." And he's like, "You might want to get that checked out." And um, we kind of go from that to Hogan and Macho Man working out on the beach wearing their wrestling gear.
Thank you. I was gonna say that. I was like, okay, well
Which,
the
oh,
Hogan's
God.
like Hogan's is usable. Like you could work out in that outfit, but what the heck was Macho Man doing?
Macho Man is the Macho Man. Like, he just doesn't care. He just is who he is. Uh, this whole thing with with Hogan wearing his wrestling gear cracks me up because the movie No Holds Barred
Hmm.
was like his first movie, and he walks around in wrestling gear like all the time in it. That's what it made me think of. Um, so this is where we kind of get the whole backstory and the plot, the main plot for this episode.
Yeah, like half that plot you explained happens in this scene.
Oh yeah, for sure. So like, uh, they're saying, "Oh man, the youth center apparently like Hogan and Savage went to as kids." I guess.
Supposedly.
Yeah. Um, it's getting. Well, let's not forget to mention either that both of those guys are from Florida in real life, and Baywatch is in California. But okay. Um, so it, we find out that their boys' club is gonna get bought out and closed down and everything, and like, oh, we have to do something to help it. And in rolls is like this limousine, and out steps Ric Flair, of course, and he's just doing his typical Ric Flair shtick, um, kind of insulting the quote unquote good guys and talking about kind of flaunting that he owns the land that the Boys and Girls Club is on or whatever it is, and um, he's gonna shut it down just because he's evil.
Yeah, and he wants to build condos or whatever.
Yeah, and he says "woo" like 50 times, and it's great. Uh, and then Vader like goes and intimidates him and gets a basketball and pops it, which I'm sure was probably real because Vader was a monster. Like that dude's huge, or was huge before he passed away. Um, and we get some terrible back and forth. Oh my gosh. Uh, Hogan drops the weird line that I used in the trailer for this month, where he said, "You know what they say, those who can do, and those who can't don't." And he like smirks like it's a great line.
Yeah, like what?
All right, brother.
Cool. Okay.
Oh
I
man.
basically felt like half of this episode, actually maybe even more than half of this episode, was just like the WCW taking over.
Dude, it totally was. It was basically, I'll get to that too when I get some facts and stuff. Um, it basically was, and it was basically kind of just like fleshed out to be
A promotion.
kind of a promotion, but I'll kind of get to that later. Um, so now we get the idea of it's going to be Flair versus Macho Man, and then Vader versus Hulkster for the deed to the youth center, which I'm not really sure how this works. Like, Um, was it like because that's two matches. So what if they split? Did like Hogan and Macho Man both have to win?
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking the same thing. I was just like, so do they try to make it dramatic where Macho Man's going to lose and then Hulk has to come in and win it? Like
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't do that. That'd be just another thing
ego
for
boost.
for Hogan.
Yeah. Well,
They're
I
like,
was
okay,
thinking too,
Macho
like,
Man, the only guy that comes close to me in popularity. It's like, oh, I'll put him under my thumb.
well, it's just kind of like once you knew Macho Man won, you knew they technically kind of couldn't lose. I mean, it would just be a draw at the worst
Yeah.
case. But
Or maybe just Hulkster had the win and it didn't really matter what Macho Man did. He could just go out there and pimp Slim Jims for a while.
yeah.
But after that we get another emotional scene where Dr. Tom basically tells Stephanie, you actually do have melanoma, and we're gonna do more tests on it, make sure it hasn't spread. And she's rightfully freaking out, and
Oh yeah.
we get some stuff where she's walking around on the beach, like asking everybody if they put sunscreen on, which just cracks me up. Like if I'm sitting there on the beach and some random lifeguard comes in to be like, "Hey, did you put sunscreen on?" I'd be like,
Yeah.
"The hell's her problem?"
I was thinking the same thing that they were definitely making her look crazy. Honestly, dude, man, when I saw they showed that group of women who were doing the baby oil and they were all red,
Mhm.
that made me cringe, man. Have you ever been you've probably been burned pretty bad.
Dude, I have red hair. What do you think?
Well, I didn't know if you were, you know, smartly cautious.
No, I'm still kind of an idiot.
Okay.
Sometimes it amazes me how fast I can get burnt. I've gotten burnt in the shade before.
Oh my
I've gotten burnt sitting in my in-laws' garage with just like I think like the sun beating off the cement in the driveway.
Oh geez.
Yeah, I'm like ghostly and I get burnt really easily. I got burnt super bad when we went to Jamaica. So, and I was sitting in the shade the whole time.
Ugh. Yeah,
Um,
I got burnt really bad in Miami one time.
oh man,
So
but yeah, definitely been there. Uh, so she's freaking out about the whole sunblock thing, and then it's like hard turn back to Hulk Hogan, and
back to ridiculousness.
yeah, basically like it's a weird, kind of like that scene in Rocky where he's runs up to the top of the steps because like all these random kids just start following Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, but I have an important question, Brandon. Are
Hmm.
you tougher than tough?
I was just gonna mention that too. Oh gosh, yeah. So the song in this, it's tougher than tough. He's got the right stuff. When the going gets rough, he's more than strong enough. I just put in my notes like Hogan, just rest your ego, brother.
Oh man, when that yeah, workout montage started and everything, I just rolled my eyes.
Oh gosh, and it reminds me of so around this time, Hulk Hogan released his own album too, called Hulk Rules, of course,
Oh
and
yeah.
most of the songs are about how great he is. So if you guys ever get a chance, check that out. uh, so we like this whole scene where like they're following him and he's running on the beach, um, and it's just like all these Hogan's so great because before that he rescues a kid who falls off
Oh.
like these rocks and a rock like pins him into the water, and
Mhm.
him and Pam Anderson go to help the kid, and Hulk Hogan like rips off the like picks up this huge boulder off a kid, which made me laugh. And then we get the crazy montage, and it ends with Hogan trying to like rally everybody, like, yeah, we're gonna save the boys center, and Macho Man's just kind of like the hype guy too in the background, and it goes from that to basically like the wrestling stuff there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we get some other scenes of like Hasselhoff just kind of talking to Stephanie and blah 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 blah. No one really cares about that plot, even though it's like the most serious part of the show.
Right. It's very interesting that they decided to put those two things together in the same episode.
Yeah, the tone of this episode is so way like off.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, because so many other episodes, it would have been more appropriate and been able to be more serious. But this just, you went from super serious to super ridiculous.
Yeah, super like corny.
Yeah.
Uh, so Macho Man comes out, he has his match. Um, did you notice all the Slim Jim signs everywhere?
Yes, I was going to bring that up.
Because one of the things that Macho Man is like extremely like known for is he
Step
used
into
to
Slim
slip
Jim.
step into a Slim Jim all the time. And even now they make these special Slim Jims that have his face on it on the package, and
Yep.
they're called Savage Size, which is amazing that they brought that back. Uh, he, he has his badge. Ric Flair does his normal shtick at it, and which is hilarious because Hogan was always kind of known for like taking on the big monster guys, and that's really the only reason he's taken on Vader. I mean, Vader was a big deal in WCW back then, but to have him go against to have Flair go against the Macho Man instead of Hogan when he's like the main bad guy, I
Yeah,
thought was kind of odd.
me too.
Um, yeah, and I guess I can get into a little more of that too because this episode is just kind of shoehorned in with that whole storyline for wrestling. Um, did you notice another celebrity come out with Hulk Hogan
Uh,
during his match?
I may have slipped across his name in the cast list.
Dennis Rodman.
Yep, I saw that. I was just like, "What? Where was he?"
Yeah, I just put down a wild Dennis Rodman sighting. Oh gosh, when they shot this, he probably just didn't show up for practice for the Bulls that day, which was which was common for Dennis Rodman back in the day.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember that.
yeah, in the documentary about the Bulls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember them saying like he didn't show up for practice, no one knew where he was, and he showed up in a WCW pay-per-view that night.
Yeah.
Just doesn't surprise me with Rodman. So like this match is like boom, surprise cage match versus Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And this like Hogan spends the whole time just kind of beating the crap out of Vader. It's not like a typical like Hulk Hogan match. Um, usually what happens in a Hulk Hogan match is, he starts off strong, and then the bad guy beats the crap out of him. He hulks up, does like his three moves of death, and then he wins, and then he flexes.
I bet they probably ran out of time.
Probably.
Yeah.
Um, so
But he
Hogan
did he
wins.
did hurt his back.
Oh yeah, which is probably just real because he's got a bad back. Um, so the Hulkster wins, big surprise,
Mm-hmm.
and now he and Macho Man can save the boys club.
And there is the scene as soon as they win and they get off of the ring that Macho Man can be seen holding on to like 6 Slim Jims. Did you catch that?
I did not, and I wish I would have. I'll have to go back and watch it now.
Yes, it was when they were in the tent and like boasting in Ric Flair's face that he was carrying his Slim Jims.
Oh man. Oh, that's just great. And then we go from that like super high, like, yay, they saved this for all these like less fortunate kids. Then we go back to the Stephanie story, and Dr. Tom shows up with some bad news and like, hey, like you got the cancer and it's spread. End of episode.
Yeah. Not to laugh at the situation, but man, like just this. as you said, just this episode all over the place.
Oh, and his acting job in it too, Tom. Um, his line delivery, amazing. Or it's just like he shows up the first time and she's like, "Is it melanoma?" And he goes, "Yes." And then he shows up later and she's like, "Did it spread?" "Yes." Oh gosh. Oh,
Are you
so
telling me that I had a chance to be on Baywatch because of my acting skills?
maybe I don't know. I know I wasn't because I wasn't like a model. I'm not a model, so I couldn't have been on there. That's
I'm
pretty
a
much
model. I'm a model slash actor, and not the other way around.
yeah. That's pretty much it for Baywatch. You had to be either super good looking or David Hasselhoff,
Or Hulk Hogan.
brother. Uh, so the acting in this, we kind of touched on it a little bit here. It's Baywatch, so and there's wrestlers in it, so yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say, like going back and watching Baywatch, uh, David Hasselhoff deserves a little more credit than what he's given. I mean,
I think it
he's
kind of
not
got
he's not the best actor, but he definitely gives it, you know. He does his
yeah.
best with what he's given, and he's watchable, and he just charismatic guy.
hmm Well, you know what it makes me want to do is go back and watch Knight Rider, honestly. Um, because I'd like to know if he kind of just got roped into the poor performance of Baywatch in general.
Yeah, that could be.
So
What I have in my notes is like, was Hasselhoff that decent, or is that everybody else is so bad around him that he shines for being average? Which is possible.
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Man, second best actor though, I guess maybe the woman that played Stephanie,
Yeah.
whose name I can't remember and I didn't write down because I was so prepared.
Well, talking about acting, definitely one of the lowest points in the episode was when Hulk Hogan went back and had the conversation with Pamela, and they were sitting next to each other, and they were quote unquote joking with each other.
Hmm.
Oh man, I can't remember what he said and what he joked about, but then she said, "Oh yeah, we're going. Some of me and some of the girls are going to the boys' center after this to help volunteer." And then he said, "Oh, is it okay if I go with you guys?" And she's like, "No, I'm just kidding." And it was delivered just like that.
No, I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, Pam Anderson was never known for acting.
No, I know. But then the Hulk did the same thing too. I can't remember what his lame joke was.
Who knows? Oh, so the actress I was thinking of, her name is Alexandra Paul,
Okay.
and she's done a fair amount of things. Really not that bad. Definitely kind of like soap opera level acting. Because I
Yeah.
mean, Baywatch is basically just a soap opera.
Oh yeah, that scene on the beach where she was having a picnic with Dr. Tom.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
Total
that could have
soap
been,
opera.
yeah, that could have been taken right from One Life to Live or something.
Yeah, it was basically like they were trying to set up a shot for a picture for the front of a romance novel. That's honestly like I looked at it and I was just like, just snap a picture and put it on a book.
Just they call they call cut. They bring in Fabio and then they roll. Uh, that'd be like the Wayne's World moment where it's like, couldn't we get a better actor than this guy? Oh gosh. So trivia, I don't have too much. Um, there wasn't really too much out there for it, but so the Savage, Flair, and Hogan Vader matches were actually taped from WCW Bash at the Beach from 1995. Um, that was actually held on July 16th. However, the episode did not air until February '96. At that point, like Vader was already in the WWE. for a month,
Huh.
and he was fired from WCW for a backstage fight in September of '95. So this whole episode, it really seemed like a promotion or like something like that, trying to get like publicity for
Yeah.
the pay per view, but it was shot at the pay per view, and I don't understand. Maybe they're hoping that somebody would buy it on VHS afterwards.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, very odd. Um, yeah, and I got the only other trivia thing I got. So the actual date that this aired was February 19th, '96. um, yeah, I still find it weird that I guess the whole reason, like I said, Flair is like the main bad guy in this. So why doesn't he fight Hogan? Well, it makes sense since they shot it at that pay per view.
Oh, yeah.
So like this has absolutely nothing to do with the storyline that was at that pay per view.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Do you know, did he really pick up Vader?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Dang. Like, I mean, he made it look, I know they coordinate things, but they made that look easy.
Oh yeah, Vader was like close to 400 pounds. Well, he body
Uh,
slammed Andre the Giant before, so and I
Vader did, or,
no, Hulk Hogan did.
okay.
Yeah,
See, I did not know that. So
yeah. Hulk Hogan was a pretty strong dude back in the day, and this was even like when he was off the steroids.
he was a pretty strong brother.
Brother. Oh, he was a pretty strong brother Jack dude. Those are his three nouns that he uses: brother, Jack, and dude. Um, but yeah, so only three of the wrestlers in this are still alive because Flair's still kicking, Hogan's alive, and Kevin Sullivan's still around. Kevin Sullivan has like one line in this, and then just kind of disappears.
Yeah.
uh, and Macho Man and Vader both passed away. Vader passed away just a couple of years ago. Um, I don't know if you recognized him from Boy Meets World,
Nope.
where he played what was the big guy's name on Boy Meets World? Like the bully.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about? And then he became like Corey's friend.
yeah.
He's been in tons of movies and stuff, like American History X. He was in man, lots of other stuff. He was on My Name Is Earl.
Yeah.
Remember the Titans? I can't remember what his name was on Boy Meets World,
I can't think of it
but
either.
Vader played his dad,
Okay.
which is fitting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vader definitely was pretty underrated back in the day because he weighed like 400 pounds. He was like 6'6", and he could do like a backflip off the top rope for
That's
being that,
impressive.
that big of a guy. But yeah, you want to get into grades?
Rock.
So, since it's a TV show, there's Rotten Tomatoes for it, but I got the IMDb score. You want to guess what that is?
Um 5.0.
It's a 6.6.
Oh
And I
wow.
gotta believe that it got that high of a rating just because wrestling fans watched it.
Probably.
And Baywatch is one of those shows too that's got like kind of a nostalgia factor
Hmm.
for it. And they put the entire series on Amazon Prime. I think last year it was on. I mean, it's still there, but they just put it on there last year.
And you've watched every episode, right?
No, I watched a good chunk of like a couple seasons, maybe like the first two or three seasons.
I
Um,
I honestly kind of wonder if people feel like the show started out strong and then kind of, you know, washed out over time, or if it got any better over time.
see, the funny thing about Baywatch is that it was, I think, like the first season, it didn't do very good ratings, and it was removed from like whatever channel it was on, like CBS or something like that.
Hmm.
And then it got picked up in syndication, and that's when it hit its stride. So it probably wasn't until like, the third season that it really started taking off. And I don't think Pam Anderson is like in the first two seasons
Yeah, that's probably not surprising.
because she was on Home Improvement for a while.
Oh. Well, I don't think there's really much of anything that would get me to invest time to investigate
And watch more
Baywatch.
Baywatch. Oh man. But Baywatch Nights is something you definitely should check out sometime. It's David Hasselhoff fighting monsters and stuff.
It's Baywatch in space.
Spurs, Spurs, Spurs. Um, so do you want to get into your grade? What's your grade for it?
Oh man, I'm almost at a loss because it's just it's so weird. It's so bad and weird because you get taken to such levels of ridiculousness and then you get slapped in the face with like reality, I guess, or the
Mm.
seriousness. And so I just, yeah, that was not good. Like they could have had any other storyline in the background, but they
Oh yeah.
decided to go with that. Um, man, I think I'm trying to kind of compare it to things that I've graded before. So I think I'm honestly going to go as far down as a 2.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think it was too bad. I was looking at 2.5. I just gave Troll a 2.5, but honestly like I'll go back and watch the Troll 2.
Yeah.
This one though, I don't think I'll ever really rewatch, so I want to put it lower than Troll 2. So I think an even 2 is solid.
Yeah. I think this is probably the third time I've watched this episode. The first time I watched it was yeah, last year when they first put Baywatch on Amazon Prime because I was really interested in. Yeah, I wanted to see how they did that with WCW showing up. Um, and then I watched it twice before we did the review. But man, this was kind of like the predecessor of Thunder in Paradise, which I believe was made by the same guy. So they just after this they decided to like give Hulk Hogan his own show or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of similar, but kind of terrible. I think was it? It might have been before this. Was Thunder in Paradise? I don't know. Before this episode, at least. Baywatch is around like I think it started in like 1989 or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, and we're gonna watch the first episode of Thunder in Paradise, so don't worry about that. So you might want to save a lower rating for that one. uh, so it's kind of hard for me to grade this too. I said that the tone is terrible in it. It's all over the place. Uh, like we've touched on numerous times, like one second we're worried about Stephanie having cancer, and then the next, um, we're watching Hulk Hogan and Macho Man lift weights on the beach in their wrestling gear. So yeah, I mean, it's typical Baywatch. It's typical mid '90s WCW, which was pretty bad. It wasn't until later on until they hit their stride and got popular. Um, and Hulk Hogan was a lot of the reason for that because he was like the biggest name in wrestling at the time. But uh, man, I don't know. It's so corny and so terrible and like all the stuff that's there for Hulk Hogan's ego that just cracked me up because I kind of know some of the backstory with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I went kind of middle of the road. I went a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
It's entertaining that it's so bad, and yeah, like I said before, anything that has the Macho Man in it, I'll watch because he's just so entertaining. And it just cracks me up that the way he talks was his actual voice. That wasn't like a character or anything.
Yeah.
which is just hilarious to think of.
No, I think a 3 is fair. You gave it less than Troll 2, so I can appreciate that.
And I have to mention too that Macho Man dropped one of his classic rhymes. Tower of power, too sweet to be sour. Funky like a monkey. Which he always had kind of his little catchphrases that he said. But so next week we're going to be diving into another movie, and it's what are your choices?
Yeah.
It's a movie I've never seen before, so should be interesting. I might let you take the lead on that. So,
Rock.
since I know you've probably seen it quite a few times, but we're going to be talking about Johnny Dangerously.
I've seen it once, maybe twice.
Oh, okay.
So not too much.
Oh man. So yeah, should be a good time. And until then, be kind and rewind.
You ready? Time to get strong. Time to win.
Yeah, let's do it.
For the boys' club.
For the boys. Oh, yeah.
He's got the red, white, and blue running through his veins. He was born and raised in the US of A. He's government inspected, he's US grade. If you mess with the flag, it's like a slap in his face. He's American made. He's American made. He's American made. He's American, American made. He's got the stars and stripes running through his veins. He was born and raised the American way. He was the heart of his country on his sleeve. He'll fight for your freedom if you really believe. He's American made. He's American made. Woo-hoo!
All right. For the boys.
So thanks for getting me out of the house.